That same focus on clients' well-being characterizes our Adoption and Guardianship Support and Preservation Program, which is one of our leading behavioral health programs. Adoption and Guardianship Support and Preservation provides home-based intervention to families formed through adoption or subsidized guardianship. Our team of therapists provide individual and family counseling, crisis intervention, and 24-hour on-call assistance that helps families address adjustment, grief and loss resolution, attachment, trauma, identity, educational, and emotional issues. This DCFS-supported program also provides therapeutic respite services, educational and support groups for parents and children, workshops, and connections to additional resources. Many of the children in this program have experienced severe emotional and/or physical trauma before being adopted into the families that seek Metropolitan DuPage for help. The trauma takes a massive toll on the children's well-being, leading to dysfunctional and often destructive behaviors and stress in the family unit. Such was the situation with the Coletti family, whose adopted daughter and 2 sons had previously experienced neglect and trauma. When Metropolitan DuPage therapist Brenda Love first visited the Coletti household to work with their daughter, now 6, the daughter was unable to manage strong emotions. She was screaming, hollering, and crying. No one knew what triggered the daughter's actions. These behaviors created chaos. The parents needed additional education about thoughts and feelings and how they can impact behavior, as well as support to meet the needs of the children. But over time, Brenda's seasoned therapeutic skills and intuitive ability to connect with her clients helped the Coletti family obtain skills and tools to regulate and thrive as a family. By teaching the children how to articulate their feelings by helping them develop language and connecting the language to their behaviors, Brenda enabled them and their parents to positively change their behavior and strengthen their attachment. Brenda's patient and caring work, along with the dedicated partnership and support of the children's adoptive parents, has been fruitful. Not long ago, the family celebrated that all 3 children were able to sit down at the table and work together at a therapy session. They also have continued to come together as a family and have peaceful dinners, game nights, and simply appreciate each other's company.
Amanda, what led you to seek services at Metropolitan Family Services DuPage?
My husband and I have fostered in both Cook County and Lake County. And at the time, we had adopted our youngest 2. And so they were 2, 3, and 4 years old. And with foster, you get a lot of services. But then after they're adopted, those services, that kind of, what would you call it?
Kind of go away.
Right.
They dissipate.
You're done. So you're starting a new transition as an adopted family rather than a foster family. So I was so grateful to hear that we still had an opportunity for post-adoptive services. And that's when I reached out to Metropolitan.
Brenda, from a therapist's perspective, what challenges were the Coletti family facing?
Well, it was 2 years between the time that you really needed those services, right?
Right.
And so those services actually helped stabilize the family. And those services were then taken away. So you needed to make sure the consistency. You needed those services back in your home. So Metropolitan was a way and a vehicle to keep those services in the home, because all 3 kids have very different traumas too. Mm-hmm. Not only are they different in their personalities, but they also have different traumas. And those different traumas need to be addressed specifically differently. And she was not getting that kind of information, that help. Mm-hmm. She was not getting that kind of help when she was as a foster parent.
Yes.
I mean, when she became an adoptive parent. Yeah.
And my husband and I we're both in education. I taught for almost a decade. So I'm like, I've got this. I've taught classrooms of kids. I'm patient and can do this. But again, the needs, we had to learn about trauma and just how your brain develops and what each child needed. So as we were shifting from then that foster family to a now adopted family, like, okay, how do we settle things? How do we set the routines? Because we did know that early intervention is the best for your kids. If we can intervene and get them the help they need now, that will help us all in the long run. So, but there was a state of chaos because each kid would kind of dysregulate or kind of pick at each other, and we were just unsettled. So,
yeah, there was a lot of, I would say, there was a lot of not knowing exactly what intervention or what we should do about each individual kid. Mm-hmm. And so we had to start with one child first.
Yes.
And we started with the child who had the most trauma. Her trauma was, I feel like it was very extensive. She was left, is it okay for me to talk about that? She was actually left in the cart seat for long periods of time. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of neglect. Mm-hmm. And she did not, as she became older, she did not have the verbal ability to tell us how her body was feeling. She did not have the language around, I'm tired, I'm sleepy, I'm this, I'm that. And so what would happen is that she would dysregulate. Yes. And in that dysregulation, it disrupted the entire household. Mm-hmm.
Amanda, when you came to Metropolitan DuPage and Brenda started working with your daughter, what did you find most helpful?
I've been reaching out and just reading different things, but this is from an excerpt from Bridge Transracial Adoption Guide. And it says, parenting any child, adopted or not, requires knowledge, humility, intuition, and growing wisdom and skill. Parenting a child who is adopted requires additional specific knowledge about the intricacies of how adoption will inform a child's experience. Parenting a child who is adopted and being raised in a family with a different racial background is yet another unique and specialized reality that requires additional considerations to help ensure that a child will grow to be an adult who finds joy and meaning in their life. So these were some things that I've been thinking, my faith is strong and just a firm foundation for me. So I've been praying over my family, my kids that, came and are now adopted. And I was even praying for some diversity in our family, because as a transracial family, as white parents with Black and biracial kids, it matters who they see and who they have in their lives. So when Brenda walked in the door, I was just so excited and grateful, because here is this amazing woman as a role model, as an example, leaning in, teaching my kids. And so I just have to share that too. That was a big, big deal for our family. She walked in and there was just this calm and this peace, and she just heard and understood and saw what was happening.
This was just one of the most wonderful experiences that I've ever experienced. I walked into this woman's house and she started talking about transracial adoption. She started talking about her faith. She started talking about how much she loved her kids. And it was clear that she was providing a safe and a safe home where her kids can thrive and grow. But then you saw that there was chaos going on. There was a lot of chaos going on. And she welcomed me, where sometimes it's kind of difficult when I walk into a home, because I'm invading someone else's space, and they are really, sometimes they are very guarded. When you walk in, some of our clients are very guarded when we walk into their homes. And so this woman opened up her home. Her kids loved me from the very beginning. And we kind of worked on some basic things, such as we really worked on psychoeducation, just really understanding how the brain works, what trauma does to the brain, and how to regulate, and not only regulate with the children, but also the parents had to learn how to regulate. And that's a very difficult process, because we sometimes come from an authoritarian kind of way of thinking. Do what I ask you to do. And kids with trauma, it just does not work. It does not work. And so we really were able to work together to find solutions to help all three of the kids
and me
learn how to regulate. Yeah.
Yes. And I will speak to that. Brenda has just as much for her working with the kids and helping them process as for me, because she validated, like, I was struggling to know how to even like discipline in certain ways, or just to, raise, and she would hear and see it and validate and then help work through. Because a lot of times as parents, especially with young ones, you would want to like stop the meltdowns and stop because you want to try to create peace. Well, the kids need to learn how to work through those big feelings to order to process and get through and know how to manage them. So Brenda was really good in helping me identify even my feelings and kind of separate like my identity from the behaviors. Yes, absolutely.
And I think that's something that a lot of parents struggle with whether or not they all have expectations. Every parent has expectations. And then now you have adopted these 3 kids, and these 3 kids are causing all kinds of chaos in the household. And so you're feeling like, oh my God, what am I doing wrong?
Right.
And I'm a bad parent.
Right.
I don't want to be a bad parent. I'm a good parent. I know what I'm
yes.
I love these kids. And sometimes loving them is just not enough. We need to learn certain things to help our children.
Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah.
Amanda, what kind of results did you and your family experience?
And Brenda did a great job. I mean, when I think back to those first meetings with my daughter, she didn't really want to be alone. She wanted us all together, and just that we need to work on attachment. And so we have come such a long way where she's like, okay, Mom, you can go now. You can go. Miss Brenda's here. So like that is healthy attachment because we were able to form that attachment. So then now my middle one can attach to others. And so that is huge, huge.
Yes, she would not, when Mom was out of the room, she was looking, or she was always, Mom, sit here. Mm-hmm. Mom, sit here. Mm-hmm. But now it's like,
get out of here. I'm here. Yes.
And can I say something about her?
Yes.
She is great at telling you how she's feeling. She'll tell you, it's time to hold me now.
Yes.
Hold me. It's time to hug me. It's time, I want water. I want this. And once she gets it, she's calmer.
Yes. Yeah. And I have a quick, cute story too. She's really been able to verbalize her feelings now. And we were going to a theater for a play, and she said, Mom, I'm feeling anxious. And so it's interesting because anxious can be like even an excited feeling. We had only taught her kind of, it's like you're nervous about something, but you could also feel that same feeling, but you're excited. So she is not only understanding anxious, but that it could be like excited, or it could be like you're nervous. So she's really going deep, and it's been able to help her just settle in her body. I think when Brenda first came, one of our big things is my wish or hope for my daughter was that she would just feel settled in her body, because there was just this uneasiness. Yes. And she really has been able to calm.
You remember when you showed me a picture of her kind of just sitting out the sideline and not being able to even socialize because she wasn't even sure about how she would react to it. Mm-hmm. And it was just amazing to me. Now I think that she socializes a whole lot better, with other kids. So.
Definitely.
Brenda, how do you feel about being able to help families like the Colettis find peace and healing as a therapist at Metropolitan DuPage?
I came to Metropolitan as an intern. And when I experienced the care and the amount of services that were available to people in need, I said, I have to work here. And not only did I do that, I wrote a letter to the president, and I said, I have to work here because of what they offer. They give hope to moms and dads when sometimes things are just hopeless. We educate, we create awareness about behavioral and mental health. And that's sometimes so reluctant. People are really so very reluctant to talk about mental health. And it helps build strong families. It changes lives. Mm-hmm. And so that experience in itself, changing a life, is what I'm all about. That's who I am. That's what I've been called to do. And I'm just thankful.
Me too.
For the opportunity.
Yes.
Amanda, what did you and your family appreciate most about receiving services from Metropolitan DuPage?
When they say wrap around, like One week it might be for me most of the time. One week it's like really truly focused on this kid. One week it's all of us. It has been, I guess, the consistency and the trusted voice and the knowledge like of the weekly interactions have been just something I so appreciate. And I'm so grateful for continued services now for my son, because we need them, but we've grown so much. And so it's exciting. It's exciting because there's hope. I'm so grateful. Yeah.
And I'm so grateful.